Dino D-Day was released on April 8th, 2011. 6 years ago. Back then, it was quite a different game than what we have now. Since then, we've seen countless balance changes to maps, to classes, we've seen new guns, new maps, new classes. Simply put, it's a much more balanced game, and a much more polished game. You have to look no farther than the reviews to see this. On Steam it has a 9 out of 10, on SteamDB it is an 84%, but on Metacritic it is a 53%. This is largely due to the fact that these reviews all came out within the same year of launch. But which one is actually right, and does Dino D-Day still stand up? Is it a game really worth playing nowadays, compared to just a gimmicky dinosaur game? Well, first let's go back to before it was released. Back when it was simply a mod. In 2009, Dino D-Day was released as a mod, and unlike its final release, it was a single-player 10-minute campaign. It was pretty rough and not very polished. The Raptors were simply reskins of the fast headcrabs from Half-Life 2, but it was fun nonetheless, and the idea was enough to gain attention. It also had some amazing concept art that was just hilarious. It didn't matter if it was short and needed more polish. The mod had a ton of character, and a lot of games lack this. Unlike the short single-player campaign, the final retail release was a class-based multiplayer shooter. I can probably hear all of you groaning at hearing this, but hear me out, the game is very different than other class-based shooters and really can't be related to anything. Keep in mind, this game came out in 2011, and Primal Carnage came out in 2012. We didn't have a dinosaur vs. humans class-based type game back then. This was sort of the first of its kind, and still is the most unique out of all of them. Since this game runs on the Source engine, everyone seems to want to compare this game to Team Fortress 2. But it doesn't play or feel anything like Team Fortress 2, and the only similarities it has with it is the spawn system and the spawn doors. Despite the way it looks, it has a very unique feel that cannot be compared to anything else. Dino D-Day caught headlines on launch because of its bizarre and unique concept. The year is 1942, and Hitler has managed to bring back the dinosaurs. This is where the classes come in play. The Axis team mostly has dinosaurs, whereas the Allied team mostly has humans. There are a few exceptions. And let's go over the classes because they are the most important part of this game. Starting with the Axis team, they have 3 humans and 6 dinosaurs. Let's start with the humans and get them out of the way. The first class is nothing special, though it is one of the best classes in the game. It has a bolt-action Kar 98 that can kill in 1 shot to the head and 2 to the body, but its secondary is an MP40. This makes it a very well-rounded and very effective class that you need to always be looking out for.
Lucky shot. Alright, bruh. Okay.
The second class is the German Sniper. It has a scoped Kar 98 that again can kill in 1 shot to the head and 2 to the body. Its secondary is a Luger pistol, it has some stick-type grenades, and that may sound kind of boring, but its special ability is what makes me play this class. If you hold down the E button, it places a target wherever you're looking. If you click, it'll make a marker on that target to call in a suicide pterodactyl bomber. I'm not kidding, that's actually something in the game, and it's very effective. It does have a cooldown so you can't spam them, but the cooldown isn't too long. It makes this class very effective for locking down certain positions on the map from distance. The pterodactyl isn't instant death though, or at least you have some warning to avoid it. It takes about 5 seconds for it to start flying in. You can see it fly in, and it makes a loud screech before it lands, so you do have time to avoid it.
LOL!
The third and final human class on the Axis side is the Medic, and this is very important to the team for obvious reasons. However, a lot of people don't realize how aggro you can really go with the Medic class in this game. It's a very good fighter. Its primary weapon is an STG with, for some reason, a crazy high rate of fire that the real one did not have. If you aim down sights, it's very accurate and it has a lot of range. This thing can kill you almost instantly, so you really have to take it seriously. Secondary is just a Luger, but instead of the grenades, it has a medkit it can throw down. These medkits have a radius where anyone will be healed within that radius. Shooting people in these medkits can kind of make them feel a little bit tanky, so you have to be careful. You do know when the enemy is standing in the medkit, thanks to the effects in game of plus signs floating all over the place. The medic does have one more trick up its sleeve, where if you press E, you'll heal yourself and anyone around you automatically. No need to throw down a medkit. This will not replenish your armor though. I'm actually not a huge fan of this, and I think that this ability should not heal the medic as well, as it makes the medic way too tanky, and you can basically solo the entire enemy team just by going medic and throwing down medkits using this ability and outshooting them. It takes way too many bullets to kill a medic in this scenario. Honestly, changing this ability so that it only healed the people around the medic instead of the medic himself would make a big change. From here we move on to the more interesting classes, the dinosaurs, the reason people get into this game to start. Starting with the Raptor, the fan favorite. The Raptor is a class that you definitely cannot go one-on-one with people, and you really have to outsmart people. For this reason, this class is the most satisfying in the game to me. Here's how the Raptor works. You're fairly small and somewhat of a hard target to shoot, and your main attack is to simply swipe at them with claws. But that's not really how you're going to be killing people. If you jump and then hold down the right click as you're about to land on someone, you do land on them, and then you go into an animation till they die. Their teammates can shoot you off of them, so you really have to pick your targets wisely. You can't just run into a group, land on someone, and expect to get a kill. As stated, it's so satisfying because you have to outsmart people while playing as this class. This class, more so than any of the other ones, majorly benefits from knowing every nook and cranny of every single map, and knowing every class's ability.
Oh my god! You ran right into that one. I wasn't even doing anything good.
The next class is the Tank Dinosaur. I'm not going to try to pronounce its real name, and it's more or less what you would expect. It has a huge cannon on its back, it's slow and heavy, but it has a lot of health. This might sound overpowered, but in all reality it isn't. You can kill people in one shot with this huge cannon, but you have to hit them directly as it has very little blast damage. And if someone starts shooting you in the back, you turn so slowly that you're pretty much guaranteed dead. It does have a melee ability though, so if you sprint and then melee you can knock people over with this class, which is a cool added touch.
No kidding, on the point. Never mind. On the point again. I need health so badly.
The next class is the Dilophosaur, and this is sort of the brawler of this class, if you will. This class doesn't have any guns of any sort. If you played Dino D-Day briefly, you probably noticed goats all throughout the map and wondered, why are there goats on these maps? Well, the goats are there for the Dilo. The Dilo can pick up a goat and throw them at an enemy, which will instantly kill them, but the enemy can shoot the goat out of the air. The Dilophosaur does have other methods of killing though. If you sprint and hit an enemy, you will knock the enemy over, which then you can pick that enemy up and hurl him as other teammates. It's a fast class with a good amount of health, but it's big and bulky so it's not too hard to shoot. In general, it's just flat out hilarious to use and can be quite effective if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, do you see their medic going around in the T-pose?
Yeah? I couldn't knock him down because of that.
Yeah, same here. I tried to get earlier.
Next up is the Stiggy, and it's probably the most straightforward out of all the dinosaurs on the Axis team. It has an MG34 on its back, and you shoot people with a machine gun until they die. This gun for some reason has a rate of fire of an MG42, and it makes it incredibly effective. It also has the ability that the Dilo and the Tank Dinosaur have, where if you're sprinting and you melee, you can knock other people over. Even though the machine gun doesn't have to reload, if you shoot it for too long, it will overheat, so it's best to tap fire. This is actually one of my favorite classes in the game, just because it's so straightforward and easy to understand. Oh man, alright, so here's where we get into one of the more gimmicky but hilarious and surprisingly effective classes in the game. The Compy. The Compy is a tiny ankle biter dinosaur. That's what it does. But the gimmick is that it has a grenade attached to its back, and you can see where this is going. If you right click, you'll blow yourself up. But there's a catch to this. You can't just run into a group of people and blow up and expect to get a bunch of kills. The way this works is that if you left click, you simply swipe with your claws. The more kills you get with your claws, the bigger this explosion gets. With no kills, if you just blow up, you'll hardly take even a quarter of their health out. They won't notice or care. With one kill, you probably take about half of their health out. With 2 kills, you kill anyone within 5 feet of you or so, and with 3, you become a goddamn nuke.
I got 3. Wham! Yes! I got
Wow!
an achievement!
Wow! I watched that!
The last and final class of the Axis team is actually, in my opinion, their most effective. The Microraptor. The Microraptor's catch is that it can kind of fly, in a way. It can't just fly across the entire map, but if you jump and then hold the spacebar down, you can flap and sort of glide your way along. Each flap can kind of change your direction, so it's difficult to shoot a Microraptor in the air. You can do a regular swipe where you hit them and it'll take 3 swipes to kill, but its split function is spitting acid at the opponent, which will blind the opponent and drop their health down to around a quarter. After that, only 1 swipe is all it takes to kill. This class can be incredibly sneaky, get into places that you don't expect, and can kill you seemingly instantly because they spit and hit you at the same time. It is stupidly effective and difficult to shoot. To make things even better, you have an extra ability of clinging to walls if you press the crouch button and jump at a wall or a ceiling, so you can be even more stealthy.
They should be more active than just being lame snipers.
With all of these special abilities and unique classes on the Axis side, you do need some counters. Not hard counters, but some counters to at least help against the unique and strange dinosaurs. Thankfully, this game excels at that. There is no hard counter in this game. There is no choose a class to automatically win. You do have a soft counter, but that does not guarantee you're going to get that kill against a class giving you trouble. The first class on the allied side is the Hardgrave, and this is the biggest problem I have with this game. One gun in particular, can break the entire game. The M1 Garand. The M1 Garand is far too easy to use and kills far too quickly. The Garand will kill in 1 shot to the head and 2 to the body, so it does sniper damage. Except you can spam from the hip relatively easily and fairly accurately, and if you aim down the sights, the gun has literally 100% accuracy the fastest you can shoot it. At this point you've created a problem, because nothing can compete with this. There's no counter to it, and it's blatantly the best gun in the game. Something becomes overpowered when it dictates the entire metagame, and this gun definitely does that. But the class itself is fine, it's just this one gun that causes issues. You don't have to use the Garand if you want to go Hardgrave, you can also use the M1 Carbine, which is more or less the same as the Garand but not quite as strong, and in my opinion isn't a problem at all. Its secondary is a 1911, which is fine, and it can carry a regular grenade. It does have one extra gimmick though. If the Hardgrave gets 3 kills in 1 life, you can press E and go berserk, or as my friends like to call it, go an American, because your fists glow red, white, and blue, and anything will die in 1 punch unless it has more health. Then it'll take a few more punches, but you can really kill anything in this mode. You have increased defense, so it's hard to kill you while you're in this mode, and you can even take down the T-Rex just by punching it. There is one counter to this mode that I only recently found out, and I'm kinda mad this works because of the way I found it out. If a Dilophosaur throws another teammate, or go to you, it will still kill you in 1 hit while you're going berserk. I honestly had no idea this worked until a few weeks ago. So if someone's going berserk, go to Dilophosaur.
Come here, Jet. What? How does that kill the fuck?
The next class on the allied side is the SMG user, giving you the choice between a Thompson or a grease gun. The Thompson shoots faster and is more accurate, but isn't quite as strong, whereas a grease gun is stronger, shoots slower, but is less accurate. Both are relatively easily usable and rather effective. They're well-rounded guns. The secondary is a 1911 as always, and you still have a few extra grenades. This class can call in artillery though, which is something that is shared between the entire team. If numerous players are playing this class, and one of them calls in artillery, the cooldown applies to everyone playing this class. It works just like the Suicide Pterodactyls on the Axis team, but quite a bit stronger. Hold down E, click, and you call in a mortar strike. These blow up numerous times, have a bigger blast radius, and in general are just stronger. But they take a while for them to actually land, and the cooldown is much longer than the Pterodactyl Suicide Bombers. The next class is really where we're starting to get into proper counters for the Axis team. This class has the choice between either a flamethrower or a Piot with a primary of a shotgun. You do have a smoke grenade, so it's useful for the objective type game modes, but mainly people choose this class to try to counter the Raptors. The flamethrower is a very good counter to the Raptor. If a Raptor is on fire, it cannot pounce on anyone. With that said, the fire won't kill the Raptor instantly and you have to actually track them with it. It does have burn damage over time, and it hilariously gives them for some reason, but you still have to track them properly with the flamethrower. In general, people use this class just so people won't pounce on them. That said, you're not guaranteed to avoid getting pounced on if you're not paying attention and a Raptor knows where you're going. If I land on you before you can even light me on fire, it doesn't matter you have that flamethrower, you are guaranteed dead unless someone shoots me off of you. The other weapon is one of my favorite ones in the game though, the Piot. The Piot, despite being a completely terrible garbage gun in real life, is stupidly effective in this game. The Piot functions more or less like a grenade launcher in other shooters. It kills almost anything with a direct hit. But the blast radius isn't that big and the reload time takes quite a while. So if you don't kill them with that first shot and they're competent, they're likely going to kill you. A lot of people have been crying that the Piot is overpowered, but I wouldn't say it is. I think a lot of people just don't know how to counter it. If you're in the air, it's harder for them to hit you with the Piot. They really have to hit you directly. And the Microraptor is a pretty good counter to the Piot because it's really hard to hit a Microraptor flying in the air with a grenade rocket launcher type thing. And once again, if you miss that first shot, you're practically guaranteed dead against anyone that knows what they're doing. Basically, the key to fighting against a Piot is movement. You can't sit still, you have to make them miss their shot and then capitalize on it.
Really?
I'm sorry, Sook.
Next up is the Allied Sniper, which is another counter to the Raptors in this game. The Allied Sniper's primary works basically the same as the Axis Sniper. 1 shot to the head, 2 to the body. The difference is the secondary. You have a choice between a Tokarev, which basically works the same as the 1911, or a Nagant revolver, which for some reason acts like a 44 revolver. It is super strong in this game. Can kill in 1 shot to the head and 2 to the body, and can kill most Raptors in 1 shot. This sounds overpowered, but it is not. The rate of fire is very slow, and you really have to know how to aim. It basically acts like a pocket sniper. The main catch with this sniper class is that instead of using grenades, you have rabbits you can throw down. Yes, rabbits, and the point of these rabbits is to pull in raptors. If you're playing as a raptor and there's a rabbit on the ground, you start getting pulled near it. Now you can resist and start walking away, but your walk speed becomes very slow and you cannot jump. If you get pulled close enough to the rabbit, you automatically just start eating it and you're practically guaranteed dead. If you do manage to eat the rabbit without someone killing you, you'll get all of your health back. You can understand why this is surprisingly effective for a sniper. Throw down a few rabbits and go back to sniping, or throw down a few rabbits and try to close off a certain area from raptors getting into it. With that said, if the sniper is being oblivious like almost all snipers always are, you can jump over the rabbits and land on them anyway. Like I said, it's a soft counter, and it doesn't really guarantee you anything.
Fuck you!
Oh, I think it's Snake.
Gosh. The snake.
Oh my god, I can't snipe in this game. Oh shit!
Next up is the Allied Medic, which works basically the same as the Axis Medic with the same ability and everything. The difference is that you have a Sten, and for some reason a P-38. Not quite sure why you have a German gun, but you have a P-38. The Sten is nowhere near as effective as the Axis MP-44, but it's also not a slouch either, and can definitely take people out pretty effectively. Once again, the medics can be very tanky, and you can solo numerous people at once if you have the correct medkit setup. The next class is a fairly straightforward class. Its primary is a bar, which is very strong and very accurate with a good rate of fire. This is sort of the counter to the tank dinosaurs and dinosaurs that have more health. It only takes one mag to take them down. Its secondary is a flechette gun, which acts like a pocket shotgun that you can only shoot once before you have to reload, making it rather effective against raptors, but pretty risky, because if you miss that shot or that shot doesn't kill, you get pounced on. The last class on the Allied side is the Trigger, the only dinosaur the Allies have. The Trigger is more or less just a counterpart of the Stiggy, with a 1919 on its back, and it acts the same way. If you sprint in melee, you can knock people over. The 1919 on its back is very strong, but does overheat. It's more or less the same thing. And again, it's one of my more favorite classes in the game. It's just very satisfying, fun to use, and really straightforward. But those are all the classes in the game, and as I stated before, there are soft counters, but there's no hard counters. The next thing we'll talk about here are the maps and the objectives. The two objectives that you come to expect are Team Deathmatch and T-Rex Team Deathmatch. These both work more or less the same way. Team Deathmatch is just first to 50 kills wins, but T-Rex Team Deathmatch is first to 50 kills win, with the Axis team having a T-Rex. This might sound broken, and at first it was. When this game first came out, the Axis side had two different T-Rexes, and the T-Rexes were way stronger than they are now. They had a ton of health, the machine guns didn't overheat, and really it was just difficult to take them out. Plus there was two of them, how are you supposed to fight against that? On top of this, the maps were not balanced for this. T-Rex Deathmatch has only a select maps you can do this on because a T-Rex is, well, very big and it needs room to move around. So select maps were made specifically with this in mind. With that said, at first these were horribly designed, and the T-Rexes could walk right up to the Allied spawn and just sit there, so the Allies always lost. Thankfully today this is not the case. The maps have been redesigned, only one T-Rex happens at a time, and honestly in my opinion at this point, the T-Rex is too weak. The T-Rex can't get to a lot of different places, and if you just take pot shots at the T-Rex constantly from inside a building, well, you can kill him solo if you really wanted to. It doesn't have as much health as it used to, and really you just die very quickly as a T-Rex unless you play defensively. You're a big target to avoid or a big target to take down, and that's really all the T-Rex is. It is hilariously fun to play as a T-Rex though, and the way this works is that the game randomly decides one person on the Axis team gets to play as the T-Rex. If you don't want to play as a T-Rex, you can choose the option to opt out of this in the menu so that you never get selected. The T-Rex nowadays works by having two different MG42s attached to its face that will overheat if you shoot for too long, and the cooldown really takes a while if it overheats. If you right click near a stash of bombs, you can pick them up and throw them at the enemy. Medics cannot heal the T-Rex. If you want to get health back as a T-Rex, you press the E button, which will make you roar and knock people over, and then you can walk up to them, right click and eat them, giving 2500 health back. This is much easier said than done because it requires people to walk up to you, and no one's stupid enough to run straight up to the T-Rex. On top of this, if you do it wrong, you can accidentally step on them and just outright kill them. These two game modes are honestly the only game modes people really want to play, but unfortunately the way the servers work is they rotate through objective game modes too, and no one ever really wants to play them, everyone just wants Team Deathmatch. The only Team Deathmatch only server is based in Europe, so no one ever plays on it. With that said, there is a King of the Hill game mode, and it does work pretty well in this game, although I feel like the Axis have a slight advantage with faster classes and classes that are easier to hide on the point. But putting a mortar barrage on the objective or shooting Piats at it is still very effective too, so no one's guaranteed to win. Personally, I do think this objective could benefit from having a hill that moves instead of being static at one place throughout the entire round. The next game mode is one that I personally absolutely hate, and I've never met anyone that ever wanted to play it. Half the server leaves when this game mode shows up, and a lot of people just wait for this game mode to end or go to the next map so we can have fun. This game mode makes you capture numerous different flags on the map. Depending on how big the map is, it will either be 3 or 5 flags. The way it works is that you need to have all 5 or all 3 of these flags capped for you to win that round, and they all have to be capped at the same time. The cap point right in the middle requires 2 people to cap it, and while this game mode can result in some amazing comebacks, like the team having 4 out of 5 objectives capped, them starting to cap the last one just for you to cap another one on the other side of the map, and your team coming back to win that round, for the most part, it's just frustrating, tedious, and takes way too long. They tried to make a push and pull dynamic, but in the end, it's just not fun. The next game mode, in my opinion, is the best objective-based game mode. It's very simple. The allies have to bring 5 satchel charges to the objective. There are 2 maps made for this. One objective is to blow open a gate, and the other is to destroy a bridge. If an ally puts a satchel charge down, the Axis has a limited time to defuse that satchel charge. If they don't do that within time, it blows up, and then you gotta get 4 more. You can put down numerous satchel charges at once, and anyone can carry one. The allies themselves only have 5 minutes to get all 5 satchel charges to the objective. So it leads to a very interesting push-pull dynamic that I think works very well in this game and can be surprisingly fun. If you have good teamwork, you may just completely obliterate the other team, or it may be a struggle just to be able to get to the objective. Regardless, with 5-minute rounds, this flows very quickly and doesn't feel quite as tedious as the other objective-based game modes.
Wow, that was so fast.
The last game mode is one that's pretty interesting, but I can't really talk much about it because it doesn't ever really show up. This game mode requires the Axis team to get a giant tanked dinosaur to cross the entire map to get to the objective on the other side. If this dinosaur dies, the allies win. If the dinosaur makes it to its objective, the Axis win. I'm oversimplifying it because I haven't played it too much, but this is really what the whole game mode is about. At the end of the day, people only really want to play Team Deathmatch, but for once I actually feel this is a valid opinion. Team Deathmatch really gives you a proper sandbox to experiment and mess with the gimmicks in the game, and just to have fun. I feel Team Deathmatch is the best game mode for what Dino D-Day is trying to accomplish. And even though objective-based game modes can get you some class-based teamwork, I feel like the game wasn't really balanced for anything other than Team Deathmatch.
Boop. Oh, it didn't kill me. Whoa! Okay, that worked. Where did that come from?
The final piece of content I can talk about is the Last Stand DLC. Yes, this game does have DLC, but it doesn't split the fanbase up. The DLC is a horde-based mode that is actually quite a bit of fun. The horde-based mode seems to take its inspiration more from Killing Floor rather than Nazi zombies, thank God. Each wave gets more dinosaurs, and stronger dinosaurs come in the later waves. And eventually you'll fight the Red Baron, which serves as the final boss. Kill the Red Baron and you win. At the end of each wave, you have the choice to go into a shop menu and buy new weapons, perks, and even a companion, whether it be the Trigger or Vengeance Goat. I am not kidding you. Vengeance Goat is effectively a Tesla coil goat, and it's just downright hilarious. As a whole, this game mode is a lot of fun, but I haven't played it as much as I should because whenever I want to play Dino D-Day, for some reason I just kind of want to go back into the multiplayer. That's really what draws my attention. But if you want to play a horde mode with friends, this game mode will never be dead and you can always play it. It's a shame that it didn't get as much attention as it did because it actually is quite well done.
He's kind of.
You love that Raptor
Holy
cock.
shit! That
I am the top
patriotic
scorer.
class that did that.
Oh, yeah.
There are some other minor polishing touches with Dino D-Day, like the game tracking your stats, which is genuinely interesting to look into, but for the most part I've covered everything. 6 years later, does Dino D-Day stand up or not? Well, surprisingly yes, it stands up even better now than it did on launch. It's an amazingly fun game that draws you in with its silly concept and gimmick, but makes you stay for the gameplay. The gameplay is thought out well, and it always rewards the better player. But if you're not that good of a player, the gimmick is silly enough to where you can still enjoy yourself. This is multiplayer done right, and although the Garand is rather game-breaking, the rest of it is very well balanced. The game itself has a ton of character that really makes you want to go back to it. You can spend a lot of time looking at the concept art, the load screens, and just reading things about the game and chuckling the whole time. The game isn't dead, and the developers still update it occasionally, although I do have to point out the last update is a little perplexing. They added a few new maps to the game, and they said they did make 2 changes. The first one is that they said they gave a slight nerf to the M1 Garand, and the second one was that they said they gave a slight buff to the speed of the Raptor's attack claws. In my testing, Neither of these are true, and they were identical to before. The Garand was still just as overpowered, and I couldn't tell anything had actually changed. So I'm thinking either maybe they made a mistake with the update and patch and didn't actually push that through, although the new maps are in the game, or they were seeing if people would just believe them when they said that they nerfed the Garand. Regardless, it's still broken as all heck. All of this aside, I can say nothing but this game goes on sale all the time, it is very affordable even if it's not on sale, and it's been one of my go-to games to enjoy myself with my friends for years and years. I have hundreds of hours put into it, and I could not recommend it anymore. That about sums up my review for Dino D-Day. Thanks all of you for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider checking out my Patreon account if you want to pledge money monthly, or if you just want to do a one-time donation, there is also a link down below in the video information. Anything you can give would be a huge help to me and keep this channel afloat. YouTube money is not what it used to be, so anything you can give would be a huge help. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.